Steve Miksta is the founder and CEO of Oppty Unlimited, their custom platform creator, business analyst, and Salesforce consultant. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks for having me, George. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Excited to have you on. Tell us a little bit about your personal life, more about your work, why you do what you do.
Personal life, originally from Chicago area, and moved out here. Looked at going to school out here, and then moved out here in 2004. So it's been almost 20 years. But yeah, kind of fell into the mortgage industry, and had a lot of work things happen, and met my wife out here. We've got two boys, five, almost five, and three. Yeah, love it in Arizona. Don't really intend to go back to Chicago anytime soon. So out here for good. So
excellent. And tell us a little bit more about Oppty.
yeah, so Oppty, as you know, I was in the mortgage industry, and it's kind of where we had met, and I was using technology to try and grow my business on the mortgage side of things. And one of the challenges was being able to, as a loan officer, have those conversations with the customer, and then transition out and allow your team to close the loan. And there's just all that information, and that specific information to that borrower, that like you had to be able to put that somewhere, because those questions were going to loom. Where's the money coming from? Why is this on his credit? All those different questions. And I knew all the stories, I knew all the answers, because I had that relationship with the client, but I needed a place to put it. And so that's where we started using Salesforce to centralize some of that information and be able to hand that off. And then I just started to see and learn the ability for us to empower people within the organization to really define what they need to see, what they, it's just that creativity and that intentionality of, if you have a role, if you know what your role is in that organization, what do you need to see in order to perform in that role? And so that whole, shift, started back in the mortgage side, and we were able to, intentionally build out a system that created visibility into a very convoluted process. And this was 2009 when I got introduced to Salesforce, and we ended up investing and building that out in Matt's office there. And he was talked with him a lot. I was always the loan officer who was building technology, and I don't think anybody knew what I was really up to. But I saw this gap, and ended up growing my mortgage business, had great success there, and then ended up spending 6 years with VIP Mortgage here in the Valley, partnered with them to build out an end-to-end platform. So taking what I had built for my team, and bringing that to a whole organization of about 450 people. And that was the next 6 years of my life, and basically, evolving really. My role has evolved from, a loan officer, a curious business person, to with a background in technology, to really understanding technology and architecture, the importance of data and technology and automation, and how it can be applied within the business. And I think that's really the gap that exists today, and the challenge that a lot of these organizations have today is the tech can do anything you want it to do, literally anything. But what are you going to have it do? And there's too many options, and there's too much noise, and so really where Oppty comes in is we partner with organizations and work alongside them, and say, look, we're here to help, because we truly believe that it's the people in the organization that make it thrive. And And so, we're looking at them and their people and saying, look, you guys know your business better than anybody. You know the roles in the org, you know what your customers want, you know all of these things. So let us work together to get that out of your head and into a system. And and as we work together, we're going to solve these problems, create an unmatched customer experience, because it's literally whatever you can dream up in your head, we can do. And so yeah, so that's where we're at. So Oppty have been almost 5 years when I started it, and we really over this time have invested our time, energy, resources in building out a process to help these organizations, because it's not easy to do this, but we've invested a lot internally to optimize our systems and allow us to be productive and be able to do this at scale. And it's just very exciting to see where the world's at and where the workplace is at. And this workplace of tomorrow is what we call, like to me, where like anything is possible, and time is like it's just a matter of how intentional you can be with that time. And technology is has always been and will always just be a tool, right? Like it's just a matter of how can the people use their creativity, right? Explain what the tech needs to do, and that's where true value is created within the organization. So sorry, that was a long
No, it's
answer,
perfect. It
long
was
story.
perfect. I saw on your site, it talks about the gap between closing the gap between technology and people. And I think that you really summed that up, because I think it's kind of abstract. People that have had experience with Salesforce know it to be this, it's like a spaceship. It's like, okay, there's parts
Yeah.
of this that make sense to me, and then parts of that have nothing to do with me at all. And then it's cool that, that technology says, well, if you can dream it, we can do it, kind of a thing. But here I am trying to just create my widget or do this service and keep the lights on and keep everything moving. How much of an investment is it from a time, from a headspace and attention standpoint to do the learning of this? Let's kind of start with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been on Salesforce since 2009. So, like, and I'm still learning every day. So, I mean, from the technology side, there's obviously there's learning the technology, and there's certain things you can do with basic education or a certification from Salesforce, and then there's the application of that within the business. And that's where I think our team, as we've worked with more organizations, like, I mean, that we've learned more on like the people side, and how to apply the technology and how we can help people. Like we've learned exponentially more there than and it's so much more valuable than anything you can do with the technology. Like creating value in people's lives through technology is a lot bigger. Getting my contacts into a system, like, okay, yeah, we can do it, but what's your intent? Like, what are you going to do with that, right? And how are you going to leverage that, and where does it need to go to? And, all of those next questions, and forcing the user to think. Because if you're gonna invest in it, you better put thought into what you truly want it to do.
That's really, yeah, that's, I'm sure that the amount of time and effort you've spent on your end learning how to use this wonderful technology, I can't even imagine how much time that has been. For somebody who's listening, they say, I'm a business owner, service provider. What is that? Is there a typical, like, we're going to need to talk about, really, I need to get into your head to know what
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then you need to figure out what would, if like what would you like to create, and what is that exchange kind of look like?
Yeah.
What does that conversation entail?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where, like really we call that like the Oppty experience, right? Like it's very hard for us to say what we do. You just have to experience it. And so our typical engagement is a 90-day like engagement, onboarding, discovery, right? Where we implement our process, right? And so we do have some great business people on the team where, we can do in a 90-minute session, we can understand the core concepts of the business, right? And from those, whether it's processes, people, systems, whatever that is, like we're starting to get an understanding of, the key things that the processes within the business and the outputs, right, that matter, right? Like is it order amount? Is it, what are we measuring, right? And with that, like now we have a starting point. And then, over that next 90 days, we're looking at, okay, now let's start to break this down. Who are the key people that we need to work with? And we start having those meetings and then putting in a cadence really of prioritization. I think that's the big thing that a lot of these smaller businesses, especially, like, you're so stuck in the business that when are you going to work on the things that are actually going to improve the business? And no one has that time, especially in today's day and age, and it's like, yeah, I want to do technology, but there's thousands of options. So how the heck do I do it? Which one do I choose? What do I do? And that's where it's like, just let us come in and experience what we do. Like we have a lot of experience on the tech side, but we understand the business, we understand the users, and we're going to listen. We don't know the answers. Like empathy is a very, very important skill that I've had to learn, to truly understand and put my shoes in that user, right? Envision me as that user in that system doing that thing, and all the frustrating things that are going to, come their way, and being able to, envision that. And then it's a matter of, during that 90 days, we start to understand that. So now it's okay. We're starting to get the people in the organization to also see it and believe it. Oh, well, what if your day was like this? What if instead of reacting to your email all day long, like in the morning, you blocked 2 hours to do your most productive work? And then in the afternoon, you make a schedule, you create intent, right? But all of that requires definition of what is it I'm supposed to be doing? And with a lot of these companies, they don't even have roles defined. So, how do we measure success of the people in the organization if they don't have a role? Now, if we define the role, we define what they're doing. Now we can actually start to put metrics to it. And in the long run, like reward compensation, performance, and like those are all the things that excite me about it. It's not about leveraging technology to eliminate jobs. It's about leveraging technology to elevate people, empower people, get more work done through other people. And that just creates true social progress, right? When people are obtaining more and more skills to do higher and higher level work.
Lots of really interesting stuff there, and super powerful. And
Yeah.
I bet sometimes you wish that you were a hammer just looking for nails and you had a solution to sell.
Yeah, you have no idea. Yeah, it's definitely been a draining 5 years on myself, my family, but what we've built is very special, and the organizations that we're working with, like they feel it more and more every day, and it's just, yeah, it's very exciting to think about what all this effort will, what the payoff will ultimately be, just from a just people side, purpose side, right? True purpose, right? And how we can help people in this world. So
it's interesting how just our relationship with technology it's interesting, It's interesting how our relationship is interesting. Some people are afraid of it. They're like, it's going to take my job. But in reality, it's going to do what you empower it to do. And when consumer, you and I, who are users of technology, when we're using it correctly with intention, it can make our lives so much better because we actually can take that big step back that we all need to do, that we don't do often enough. Say, what would a great day look like for me? What does a successful day look like for me? And how can I then, once I know that, put
Mhm.
tools and resources in place to be able to make that happen for me? And the answer is that possible? The answer is yes.
Right. The answer is always yes. Yeah,
Doesn't
and
mean
it's
it's going
getting
to be easy. It's going to take time, but it's available.
yeah. And it used to be, yes, but there's a good amount of cost, and there's development time, and there's lead time, and
Mm.
there's that, and like now it's, and especially with Salesforce and just as technology's evolved, and there's a ton of tools out there, right? Like I mean, Salesforce, like we obviously, I mean, there's a much bigger picture of what we do with Salesforce and designing it to really be the business platform for the organization. But I mean, there's a million tools out there from a technology side to automate and connect yeah, and very little development. I mean, in the past, it used to be 70-80% development work, right? And now it's literally flip-flopped. I mean, we do probably 10% of our time is spent like doing actual development. It's all about, its configuration, it's business requirements, it's understanding a process, the user, what's needed. It's all that creative thought that goes into it. Because the system can literally be configured as fast as you get the requirements. So the challenge is you go to most organizations, you say, well, what's your process? Right. Yep. And it's who are the people in the process? How do we measure the performance within the process, right? Like
These are
those are
great
all,
questions.
yeah.
Is
And
it ever
yeah, and that's where the experience, like it's like it just like a new, the new process emerges, right? Like what we've talked about is kind of like we facilitate interactions and information within the organization, right? And as we get people in the organization interacting with each other and interacting with new information and ideas and thoughts, and all of these things create this energy, right? That like is able to transform that organization. And so that's how we kind of envision our role is like a facilitator of ideas, information, energy, right? To get this organization to its future state.
is it ever too early or too late?
I mean, definitely not too early. Too late is going to be a serious question to ask, and that's where I think with these smaller businesses, I mean that's what's excited me about the small business. I truly believe small businesses are even before I started Oppty, there's a book I read, Exponential Organizations, and it talked about how in the past, these bigger companies were always better positioned to use technology. But today, you're literally, not only are you, able to afford it as a small business, you are actually way better positioned to leverage technology because you have less people, there's less legacy systems, right? And it's literally like you can change and implement with a small number of people and then scale and grow your business, and you don't have to go through with these bigger organizations. It's like guiding the Titanic. You got so many people whose minds have to change versus a small business. Like I get 2 or 3 of the leaders and we're off in a whole new direction.
I love it. So what are great size companies? Too small, too big?
I mean, we've got, I mean, typically our typical organization is probably less than 50 people. I mean, not to say like my old company was 450. We'd work with bigger organizations. I think there's Yeah, like there's something about, regardless of the size of the organization, there's that initial solution and initial team that like you need a team that's going to work together and provide feedback and like build that initial solution out, right? So even with if we working with a bigger organization, like we're going to work with a small number of users initially to perfect what that first solution is going to be, right? Like we can move a lot faster with a lot less people and a lot more engaged people in providing that feedback, and then get it to okay, here's our beta, right? And then now let's roll it out to the users, let's get some feedback, and if it's ready to deploy, great. If not, let's go back to that small team and let's iterate and let's build the next version of this, right? And then bring it back, and just we can. And there's a lot less impact, obviously, then too. So we're not disrupting, the guy who's afraid of technology or doesn't want to use it. Like he's one of the last guys we're going to worry. Like we're going to get that built up to a way, and in the meantime, like we're going to spend time with that guy and understand what is it you really need it to do. Like why do you not like the computer? Figure out all of those roadblocks, right? Because all that is just great feedback. Some of the best ideas we've gotten have been from the people who absolutely hate the technology, and they're saying why they. But when you peel back that onion and they tell you this is why I don't like it, like that's where the good stuff is. It's like, oh, so you're just trying to do this. Oh, now that makes sense, and that's an easy fix. But again, it's this gap. Like they don't know how to ask for that. It's in their mind, it's as simple as I needed to do like this particular function, but like they're never going to ask for that. They're so worried about that they're trying to be technical. So they're saying, no, I have to click here, I have to click there. But but you need to do that. Well, you don't even have to click. Like we can just do that.
You mean I don't need to click? That's crazy. I don't need. That's awesome. Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people learn more about you? And if somebody is, for those who are curious, how can they engage and get a hold of you?
Yeah, we so social media, LinkedIn, and we're definitely on LinkedIn. I do also have I guess X or Twitter or whatever, Oppty CEO, that I've been starting to utilize some more now, and looking to get some more engagement. With that, I think we're at a point now where like we've been building so much the last few years, but now starting to surface and get out there, and just know that we can help organizations. And I think the timing with ChatGPT and all these other things hitting, it's like the tech is out there, but companies need to learn how to leverage it, and we're here to help. So
Excellent. Give me the website.
it's www.oppty.unlimited.com, and then on Twitter's at Oppty CEO. And then you can find me on LinkedIn, just Oppty or Steve Miksta. So
Excellent. Well, if you enjoyed this as much as I did, show Steve your appreciation and share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas. Go to opptyunlimited.com. It's OPPTY unlimited.com, and check out great resources that Steve and I have been talking about. You can find them on LinkedIn and X as well. I'll link all of those in the notes of the show. Thanks again, Steve.
yeah, thanks, George, for having me. Appreciate it.
Till next time, remember, do your part by doing your best.